Welcome back to the Brother to Brother Show. I'm your host, K Mo, where we are finishing up What Women Want. In this final episode, we are actually having a lot of the women come on at this time and ask some really good questions, and the men are getting right into it. So we'll be back in 1 second. Fourth and final episode of What Women Want. And I'm going to just go ahead and start playing. And if you haven't been listening to the previous ones, basically, I was asked to bring in some of my guys. We did an audio, so we're doing reaction to audio. So this is anonymous to all the people that are on here. You hear names, but it's just the first names. But the guys are really just kind of diving deep into what they really want, but in the sense of dating. My co-host had some questions that she was asking, and towards the end the women started kind of like asking a lot of questions, and I'm going to kind of start it a little bit from what the last episode was, and we'll go right into it.
Just being humble. I think like when you enter relationships, I talked about this because I like the idea of, you know, where we are in society, where we where we don't put restrictions on women, and you know, and I was raised by women, and so I love that. But I think what has happened in turn is that, you know, the society has put extra pressure on women, right, to be more than they've seen women be in the past, right? And that pressure, I think sometimes it's hard to release that pressure when you're going into a relationship. So you're still like holding all society, you know, expectations when you're going into the relationship. And sometimes I think, you know, it's like hard to be humble when you've achieved so much. And so like you got to be really, really prepared for a relationship. And a lot of people are not prepared for a relationship when they enter it. The only thing that they're looking for is their list. Or they want a guy who's equally, you know, their peer, right? And like those are the things that are super important to them. But it takes a lot more than that. And I think, Brian, as someone kind of alluded to this earlier, it's like it takes more than physical looks or, you know, what someone has or has achieved in his life to be your equal in a relationship, right? And so, you know, being humble when you enter the home and allowing your partner to be your partner, right? Allowing your partner to be your peace, like that's okay. Like, so you don't have to be that strong in your home, but you also got to be honest with yourself, with the partners that you're choosing to be in these relationships with. And I think there's like a real big disconnect there between, you know, men and women, and just trying to navigate relationships outside of like who they are outside of the home. And so, you know, the humbleness is just like super duper important. And people who I think humble themselves are in relationships, because it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do outside of parenting is being in a relationship with someone for a long tenure of your life. That's just difficult to do in general. So yeah, I think humbleness is one that's really, really important.
Thank you, Mario. I wanted to. Oh, sorry.
Martina has her hand up. We
Yes.
definitely want to hear from some of the ladies.
And then also Patrice had a question too. Can I go to Martina afterwards if I answer our question?
No, because Martina's about to lose it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Martina. I'm sorry.
No.
And then if we can just have one or two people answer these two questions, because I know we're pressed for time. So Patrice, I tried to rephrase your question. Guys, why does it seem like so many men today are afraid to approach or engage with women in those social settings. And again, we're talking about guys who know better, who know how to approach in this dating scene, not the younger guys, but the guys who are in those social settings, guys that you all know. I even know some of them. What I see a lot of is the guys who've been, Brian, you know this already, the guys who've been married and divorced, they are afraid to get back out there because if they've been burned by financially, they want to. I know guys who want to be in relationships right now. They want to be in serious relationships. They are husbands, but because of their last situation, it's burned them, and they're still kind of dealing with it, especially if they're in that 38 to 50 range or older, and they're still, trying to wait till the kids are 18 and out the house. They're afraid to kind of get back out there, and that financial pressure for men is hard. I necessarily didn't go through it, but I hear it so much on my platforms and what I've heard from other guys. They want to be in relationships, but they don't want to necessarily commit to a marriage. And I think that's what's taken them so long to really kind of push that narrative and get back out there. Again, I kind of have some empathy for some of them. And I do know that some of them are actually going out there trying to find somebody, but it is difficult for them. Just like we're on this call with the ladies. I know men in Houston, in Texas, who are having issues and problems getting back out there and finding a person with the same type of values that some of the guys on here have. Anybody else want to address that, guys?
Yeah, well, I know I want to go to Patrice's question. I think it's because men now are scared to fail forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think that now with dating apps and things like that, I mean, Tinder, their whole brand is that you could probably hook up with somebody that night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's made the access to certain things so much easier to where, we're talking about the DMs and some people can set up fake accounts and all this other stuff and have a representative out there. So I think, men now, the fear of being rejected is a little bit higher than before, where a guy, he may talk to 10 girls within a day and only get one number, but at least he's going to try because he's playing the, law of averages. And I just think some men just don't want to deal with that because they've either been burnt in the past. There might be some hurt feelings there, stuff like that, kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, Corey, now, why is it that some, you'll be out maybe with your girls, Patrice, and then some other guys might be out with their dudes and none of the guys that's coming over, they just huddled up. I don't know, because I know, I don't even see that, it'd be funny whenever I go out to a lounge or a club or something like that, it'd be groups of guys over here together laughing and joking, and then groups of girls. And it's it used to not be like that. It seemed like love just died on the dance floor in the 90s. That's when we used to pull up. So I really don't know, because that seems odd to me. The only thing I can quantify it is that the rejection part. I just think that it just comes to men just don't want to be rejected in person, because obviously you get rejected in the DMs or on the app. It lands a whole lot softer than somebody telling you no to your face. You know what I'm saying? No to somebody's face.
Can I say something, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Men have been getting rejected since the beginning of time. They bounce back. At least, when I grew up, men would ask you to dance. Sometimes you say yes, sometimes you say no. They go to the next, girl and ask them, to dance. But the fear is different now. That's maybe what I'm trying to say. The fear is very different. I'm in my 50s. So I this is what I'm seeing now. And the first time I was at a Sweet 16 party for a nephew. And I saw the girls here and the guys here. I'm like, this is weird. I said, well, maybe they're too young. But, as time went on in the last 10, 15, 20 years now, it's gotten worse. So I'm just trying to understand where is this fear from? It was very different. So you see beautiful women, I mean, educated, working, whatever, from all spectrums. And the men don't pay them any attention at all.
I'm gonna let her finish. And I've had some time to kind of think about this, because I've heard it over before this interaction. And so one of the things that she came on to Ask Guys, so I'm going to speak for what the guys said afterwards and what I hear guys saying. And I still stand on what I said. It is kind of perplexing that guys aren't coming up and saying anything. But for what I also gather is she said a lot of different things 15, 20 years ago. That means that she was in her early 30s and 20s. Guys, too, are growing. If we're looking back and when we were 20s or even when our teens and we saw our parents and grandparents and things like that, even how women were, they were different. How they responded to us, was never, it was a kinder level, is a kinder way of talking to men as well. And no matter education or not, I hear men say that all the time, and even I've seen it. Just because of the education doesn't mean, or the spirituality doesn't mean that they're going to, let you off the hook or, say politely that, they're not interested. And that can definitely hurt a man's ego. And so unlike in the 80s and 90s or early 2000s where, it was there, I don't think it was as bad. And I think that women who are educated also had a different level of tact in how they dealt with things. Now you're saying fast forward. And when I said in my last call, the last session, third part, definitely talked about we're evolving, this evolution. The men now are, if they are looking at you, or those are the ones that you're still looking at, and it's the same type of guy that you desire, who is professional, that does have X, Y, and Z, then that guy wants something different as well. So unlike you were able to say no to him and reject him so quickly, and again, like I said, I even said this in my last part 3 was, many women, it's hard for them to kind of like really realize that. And it doesn't matter how good you look or whatever the case may be. As we all evolve, things are going to change. And doesn't mean necessarily that it's changing for a bad way. In your mind, it might, but for a guy's mind, he may not just want to be rejected. Maybe he is used to a certain level of women being there. But I'm not saying it's even right, but I'm just letting you know from a guy's point of view, a lot of them are like, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I know what I've put myself on to say, even just give a guy a chance. And there are just different scenarios there that we all kind of have had experiences from, that we've all had to grow from. But I just feel like at this point, when I'm hearing guys talk about it, they're not approaching because they don't know, even how you may respond to them. There are women out here who are, and again, if you are not that woman, great. But if you are that woman, I'm telling you, that's the reason why they are not approaching. Guys have a lot of not just ego, but dignity and tact these days, and they don't want that bruised by you clowning them. They don't want that bruised by you videoing them, or we've heard things on the internet, and I'm not talking about, I'm going to use those as examples, but I just don't think a lot of professionals, you would say professionals aren't really going through that. But yeah, they are. A lot of guys are going through that. And so sometimes now, because we don't check each other, the women don't check each other, then they're out here, they are bad mouthing guys. They are doing crazy stuff. They are being super disrespectful themselves to guys as they are rejecting. And, if it's a guy worth some salt, he's not willing to go through that. So I'm not saying this is this person that I'm reacting to. I'm just saying in general. But I'll let her finish what she was saying.
Women go out looking their best and they come home like nothing, not even hello. That's even worse. Like, you don't even say hello, nothing. You look the other way. You literally look the other way. You don't want to, you don't want us to even see you looking. That bothers me a lot. It's kind of hurtful.
I haven't thought, and I see Martina and Valerie have their hands up. I think it could be a multitude of things. I think, two things pop into mind. Men can be intimidated by women, and I think somebody touched on it earlier. Back in the day, when you said since the beginning of time, I was raised, men were supposed to be providers, number one. So if you're in a society now, and I'm glad for all that Black women have accomplished, but if you're a man who are like, I want to approach her, but if she makes more money than me or more professionally this, then I might be intimidated by that. So that might be and I'm not saying it's an excuse, I've heard this from men that, oh, she can't. So that might be an intimidation factor there. And when you first approach a woman, you may not know what she does. I think an app sometimes, depending on what's on there, you can kind of tally up your stats to see if it's even worse. The other thing I think too is we're in a society now, and I don't have all the stats on this or the research, but back in the day when you were rejected, she just rejected me. Now you reject me. Now I can take that as my self-worth. Maybe there's trauma there, self-esteem issues. And so a mere pure rejection or simple rejection is more than just you rejecting me. I'm taking that now as my value is there. And when you think about social media, you're going on there to get all these dopamine hits. You rejecting me is opposite of that. I need you to I don't want to take the risk for that to be tattered with. And so I think that some of that might be at play there. I just think we're in a different day and age. Sucks. But I think that's, especially as you get younger generations.
And maybe because there's a safe place to do it, like I don't have to get rejected here in public. I can safely in the privacy of my home. If I get rejected there, who knows but me?
Right.
So they got an out, or men in general, they have an out to hide behind, social media or an app.
Not all men, just some.
I hate
we got
to
a question
interrupt.
from
I don't want to
Martina.
interrupt. We're not going to get cut off per se, and we may not even get the answer, but I definitely just at
This is
least
going to be a
want
good
to
one. So listen to
know
this one. This is the.
what did Martina want to ask and what did Valerie want to ask. If anyone wants to stay on or whatever, please do feel free. You won't get cut off, but they had raised their hands a long time ago, and I really, we wanted women to come and share their thoughts. So Martina, if you are still with us, please go ahead and ask or state.
I'm here, Cynthia. Thank you so much. I think that I just wanted to address the narrative that women will not date men who make less than them. I have a circle of a whole bunch of sisters who are single, who are high achievers. And what I will say is that many of us have dated gentlemen and who didn't earn what we earned or didn't have the titles we had. The issue is not that we won't give them a chance. And I need y'all to run tell all your brothers, okay? Because it's not that we won't give them a chance. It's that a gentleman who may be a blue collar worker is not going to be comfortable in my world. It's not that I'm disrespectful to him, but it's that if he is working at the grocery store and then I take him to the Jack and Jill Gala with me and he's sitting at a table with CEOs, that man's ego will not allow him to operate in my world. And so I hear it so often that women are unwilling to date women who make less than us. And if you ask all of my friends, none of us say how much money he makes is at the top of our list. None of us are saying that, but I hear that narrative so much. And I would just like to figure out how we navigate around that. I'm out. Thank you.
I'll jump in. I think when you welcome somebody into your world, whether it be through socioeconomic, faith-based, whatever it is, I think that when you put them into your world, I think that there also is a responsibility to make sure that they feel welcome in that space instead of just being dropped into the pool. I know that I've seen that and I've experienced that as well. I know that for me, I had a female friend of mine who had a guy she was dating, but took me to an event because she knew I could navigate the space. And when she told me that, I was like, you should have coached your man to come on into this space. Like, I'm flattered, but you should have coached your man to come into the space. But I think that's something that doesn't really happen or gets overlooked. And I think even when you bring somebody into a space where you guys are both CEOs, executive directors, and things like that, I think whether it be, if it's me bringing a woman into my event or the woman bringing somebody into their event, it's whomever is that, whoever is the person who's in that space and it's their native space, helping them to navigate that space. And the thing is, and that's the juxtaposition that you have to have when you bring somebody into that space. It's helping them to navigate that space and to feel welcome there. Because like you said, a male's ego is fragile. So the thing is, if I get into that space and I don't know how to navigate it, then, or if I'm not, and the thing is, just navigating is, hey, this is my boyfriend such and such, or this is my man such and such, whoever your term is, this is my person such and such, and introducing them. And then you may not be able to run off and do the elbow rubbing that you need to when you bring somebody into the space. I think that it takes somebody that's comfortable in that space to be able to run off and say, all right, I'm about to go talk to somebody. You're going to be good here? All right, cool. Versus somebody who's not native to that space where you have to, all right, well, I got to stay with them a little bit and usher them along to make sure that they stay and that they are comfortable. And that's, as I said, that goes for people who are both at the same status coming into different spaces, and for people who are bringing the plumber or the hairstylist into the Fortune 500, whatever. Like that's what I think, making somebody feel comfortable in that space, introducing them, having them, not just dropping them in the pool is going to be something that helps with helping them navigate that space. I said a lot, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and if I can just jump in here real quick, and also, to say the quiet part out loud is a dynamic shift as well. Because obviously, if society tells us that men are supposed to lead, right? But then if there's a financial component to where then the woman's paying for everything, then does the man feel comfortable enough to then lead, or does the woman feel comfortable enough to be submissive, right? If she is the breadwinner, so then that shifts the dynamic of the relationship. From a financial standpoint, now there could be women out there that's like, no, I still want my man to lead. I'll support him and everything like that. But if you are laying down the credit card every time y'all go out to eat, anytime y'all go to the trip, if y'all do anything like this, and then he wants to, let's say, establish some sort of hierarchy because he's the man of the house, are you going to allow him to do that? Now, some women may be able to do that, but that does shift the dynamics. If you have a woman who is a high achiever and has a lot of money, and then she's bringing in the guy who owns the food truck, you know what I'm saying? He may not be owning that much, and if they want to go do this thing, then it could be a dynamic shift. Now, that could be a conversation to where it's not an issue, but it has to be at least a conversation that you guys have to sort of discuss that through. Because again, if men are supposed to be the breadwinners of the family, so then it's a patriarchal sort of household, right? But then if the woman is the breadwinner, then does it shift to matriarchal, and then has that dynamic changed?
Thank you. Cynthia, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. And
so I'm going to say this before she goes. I might even stop it on this at this point. I really believe there's a lot said there, and I've kind of held on to this audio for some time because I wanted to make sure and do a poll, talk to other people, and kind of see what was the outcome, what were people really thinking? Because I was asked to bring on certain type of guys, and I ask a lot of guys actually, but guys really don't want to be a part of panels because of, even going back to what even like we were talking about right now, we're at a state right now, men don't want to put their face on things that have them out there that can lose their lifestyle. Just like women love their lifestyles, even how the sister talked about, where she is and, bringing somebody into her world. There was a lot said on all three sessions. I mean, all four episodes. But if you are not in a space where you understand where that guy is, or you're willing to bring someone that may not be a part of your world in, no matter what it is, especially when she was speaking, I think that's the bigger problem and the bigger issue. So yes, as a woman, you might be willing to do it, but are you willing and understand what the understanding is of that will that you want to have, willing to have that person in? Because I would always push back and say, well, if you really are, then you're willing to then do X, Y, and Z to make sure for what, Brian was talking about. I use the same analogy and take this out of it. I've been in spaces where I've dated outside my race. I've been around different cultures a lot of times. And when you're around different cultures, then you may, and for the first time, and you don't know too much about the culture, and then you're going around and the people are speaking different languages and things of that nature, you're not going to, you're hoping that the person that you're with or is bringing you into that space, not your world, into your space in that particular situation, then they are going to probably have to be with you the entire time until they get comfortable. And so if you're willing to bring somebody in your world, that means that you're willing to also be around that person. If not, that's not a place that you probably should be bringing that person. Or you might have to be willing to date a man who is not willing to come inside, be a part of that type of world. And so I understand exactly what she's saying. And you might be willing to do it because you wanted to date and you want to be in a relationship. However, it may not be something that you are willing to do, because there's actions, there's a mindset that has to go into with that, and understanding what those men, just like men, have to do. You know, if we're taking education out, and a lot of guys just don't date women based off of how much money they have in education. They're looking at different things: nurturing, character, integrity, how this person treats, other people. How do they treat you when they're angry or when conflict happens? Those are some of the things that we will hope to look at, as opposed to in those environments, which is only a small part of you. And if that is a bigger part of you, I would always question too, then how invested are you with the type of relationships that you are willing to engage in? Because if not, then maybe those jobs and careers may be the thing that you need to kind of focus on. But that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that I think that's the juggle that we're seeing right now, that women want you to kind of like be a part of that world. And I don't think the sister was trying to really be like rude about it at all. But when you hear that, a lot of my guys, and the guys I've also let listen to this off air, they understood that this may not be something that, yes, she's willing to do it, but are you actually going to take the time? And most women who are in that space aren't. And if they willing to do it, you have to do just like a lot of men do, that who are trying to get to know situations. And that's a shift in growing as you get mature and older, because we are all getting older, but you're not the same person that you were 20 years ago. Yes, you're more accomplished professionally, but the guys that I'm talking to, they aren't looking at that part of the woman. So this is also a podcast and a panel where they asked guys what they thought. And so I wanted to make sure that we got clear that this is what men are looking for. This is what they want. Yes, this is what women want as well. But if you're not taking in what the men want that you desire, or what you're looking for, or just trying to have a level of understanding, then I don't think it's going to, move into your favor, especially as we get older. And I know that's not something that is popular these days, but I think everybody can win. I think everybody has the opportunity to kind of get, be with somebody as they matriculate this world, because this world is very hard, and it's not getting easier as we get older. I know finances can take away a lot of things and help us, but sickness and things of that nature, money cannot help and support that, and it's only going to go but so far. So I hope that was able to kind of wrap this particular episode up. Until next time, I'm your host, K Mo. Peace.